Eufy have done it. They've released a bunch of security technology that I've been on my knees begging for ever since I became a hardwired convert. Firstly, they've released that thing up there behind me, a PoE security camera that has a stationary wide-angle lens on the top, followed by a tracking dome, which can follow people with both a wide and a 3x optical zoom lens. This one camera can cover nearly 50% of my property on its own, and it's bloody amazing. This in itself should be worth an episode entirely on its own, but Eufy have pulled the hat completely out of the bag because they paired this fine slab of security meat with a beautiful single malt whisky. And they've done it in the form of the updated Eufy NVR system, which is the first NVR system to feature advanced onboard AI for facial recognition, high precision tracking, and a feature that is so useful I can't believe it's taken this long to see it in a product, but I'll come back to that shortly because it's starting to rain. So let's go back into the gallery so I can share some of my excitement for this amazing release. Now by now, you should know that I'm a big fan, a massive convert of NVR systems in recent years. Don't get me wrong, I still love wireless systems for all of the reasons that I originally did. Flexibility, ease of use, and most importantly, they generally offer a less intrusive or destructive setup. The one big problem with wireless setups has always been connection speed. If you're out and about and someone creeps into your garden to steal your panties, the camera detects the panty sniffer, sends that over Wi-Fi to your hub through walls and other interferences. Then the hub sends that information to your router, possibly by Wi-Fi or wired if you're sensible. But then through the internet, through the cables to your local cell tower, and then over wireless to your phone. And then you press the notification, reversing that rather long relay of devices all the way back to your camera. And let's face it, if you're living in the middle of the Welsh mountains like I am, you're lucky if you get 3G, so the connection can take 10 plus seconds on a bad day to finally connect to the camera. Even the fastest wireless cameras that we've ever tested take at least a couple of seconds to load. By which point, whoever has been creeping around to steal your panties off the washing line has already been and gone, and now you're down a pair of your finest frillies. Now, the reason I've been a fan of NVRs is that having those systems immediately removes all of the wireless connections from your home all the way to the cell tower that your phone is connected to. And as long as you've got good signal on your phone, the speed difference of hardwired systems is often blinding. The thing that stopped me, though, from wholly devoting myself to the Church of NVR has been a distinctive lack of smarts. For whatever reason, they've always seemingly lagged behind wireless cameras and wireless hubs with that level of intelligence. And that's not just Eufy, that seems to be every manufacturer. I literally have no idea why this is. Maybe the demand is much less for NVR wired systems, I don't know. But this new release has finally changed the game, not just for NVRs, but for what's possible with home security. I don't say this lightly, but I truly think that Eufy have completely revolutionised the home security system niche with this release. From an operational standpoint, the NVR is functionally very similar to the Homebase 3 that Eufy released a few years ago, which has been the staple brain of all of their wireless cameras ever since. And I have to say, it's been a great little device, and anyone who's familiar with it will be instantly familiar with the new NVR. The one big difference to start, however, is that the NVR has its own onboard user experience that you can access when plugging it into a display. This allows you to customize a bunch of the settings for the cameras, which you essentially hardwire directly into the rear of the NVR. There's 8 slots for cameras, supposedly expandable up to 16, which is wild, which in my opinion allows this to go far beyond just being a consumer device and easily functional for professional use. But once you plug a camera in, it instantly appears in the feed. What camera you use will change what it looks like on the homepage. In my case, I get the feeds from 3 lenses of the S4 cameras, one being that stationary wide that sits on top, and one being the feed from the tracking dome, which switches automatically between the wide and zoom lens. You can control the cameras then directly here using the on-screen arrows to move those motored domes. And the delay between the cameras and feed is almost non-existent because of that hardwired nature. And as far as compatibility, I believe there's some support for ONVIF, so you could potentially use some supported third-party cameras, but Eufy also have a bunch of OEM PoE IP cameras. Oh my god, that's a lot of bloody letters. OEM PoE IP cameras, which are literally just plug and play. No faffing about. But what if you've got a bunch of wireless cameras that need the Homebase 3 to run? Well, I think any other manufacturer would simply require you to throw them all away and start again. Gotta love a bit of planned obsolescence after all. But not Eufy. They've decided to offer a separate wireless module to use with the NVR kit, and that connects all of Eufy's wireless cameras directly to the NVR, acting like the Homebase 3 on steroids. I haven't gotten my hands on that to test just yet, so I can't say for certain its capabilities, functionalities, or compatibility, and I'm not even 100% sure it's available at the launch of this device. But from the information that I've got, I'm pretty pleased that they're bringing this out. It at least solves a big problem of what to do with all your old cameras. It's a little more annoying though that they haven't included it as standard, but I guess it might be pretty niche. Normally people who have PoE camera systems are unlikely to want to use a wireless one in that system too, unless you're me, who has a wireless doorbell that I've got no way of running a network cable to. So it does solve a problem. But still, you've got to give Eufy a massive clap of appreciation here, because it means that all of those people who've bought Eufy wireless cameras over the past few years, none of those become redundant or obsolete. You can continue to use them whilst adding the benefit of the wired cameras that you want with the NVR. Now, when you're in the camera settings on the NVR, you can actually see how many are connected via the PoE and how many are connected via the Wi-Fi, which obviously for me shows as 0. But alongside this, you can also change a bunch of the main settings for the system, such as AI sensitivity and various other things. And you can view the full playback if you've got 24/7 recording turned on, or specific events that the AI has categorized for you to make it easier. Now, all of the AI processing, like the Homebase 3, is done on device with its 8-core processor, so it's super quick at identification, but the NVR takes it one step further. Whether you have 24/7 recording on or not, the AI has filtered triggers into events based on human, pet, or vehicle or motion. And you can view those events either on the NVR or the app. Now, that one step further is that now you can search through the events based on the description of what you're looking for. So, for example, you can type in blue hat, and it shows you all of the events where someone is wearing a hat or a blue hat. But this wasn't enough. I wanted to really see what it could do, so I searched things like ginger cat, black cat, red van, even hi-vi, and it brought up images of anyone wearing any form of high visibility outfits, including me in a forestry helmet. And then I tried something really mad. I typed the word Tesco. For those unaccustomed to the UK, Tesco is a supermarket that delivers groceries, and sure enough, it showed a Tesco's delivery, which I'm almost certain it categorised based on the text on the van. This is so good. I can't tell you how much of a difference this makes to home security. There's been so many times where I've wanted to check something and I've only been able to filter by trigger, finding myself scrolling for 30 minutes to inevitably not find the clip that I've been looking for. This alone changes the game, and I find it super fast as well, and that's kind of surprising given that it's running a regular HDD inside the NVR. And it comes with a 2TB one already installed. It is expandable up to 16TB, which is more than enough, although bear in mind it will overwrite old footage when it fills up, and given that this can have 16 cameras, or even just to 8 from the standard slots, all running very high quality feeds. Depending on usage, you might find that that stock 2TB one fills up quite fast, potentially holding just a week of footage if you're running 24/7 recording. Now, if the control of the system through the NVR interface wasn't enough, you're also able to control it through a companion app, which for Homebase 3 users will be very, very familiar with because it's the same app. One cool feature is that you can view cross-camera tracking, which essentially stitches events together into the same event. So if you had enough coverage with your cameras, you'd be able to view just one event and see everywhere that person has been on the property or within view of every single camera, all linked together across those multiple cameras. This is a massive feature and saves hours of trying to sift through different cameras and individual timelines to find adjoining events. Now, there's a few other interesting bits in here too, like the security report, which is absolutely fascinating. This shows you how many of each type of trigger has happened, shows weekly and hourly activity, and even shows how many times familiar faces have been clocked. Now, I love this view, and I've said before, I wish all camera manufacturers would do this. But this is just one amazing thing that sets Eufy apart from everything else. And that's not the only thing that sets Eufy apart, because now with the S4 cameras, and I've got one spare here that's not up, quite frankly, these put every other security camera to shame. Just one of these, you could quite easily cover 75% of your outdoor space, potentially more if you positioned it just right. The top camera, this is a wide angle lens and it's permanently looking in the direction that you set. You can obviously twist this around to change which way it points, and you can move it up and down as well. But once you've manually set it, that's it, the position will stay as it is. The bottom, on the other hand, is a fully movable auto-tracking dome with its own sensor and 2 lenses. You can set this independently of the top camera, having it pointing in a completely different direction as sort of default. So you've got the top and the bottom cameras working in unison to cover 2 different angles. So if the top camera catches someone lurking, the bottom camera then spins to that direction to lock onto that person. It's basically a camera which has eyes in the back of its head. And once that dome has a lock on a subject, it will then digitally zoom into that subject to get a better view before then switching to its optical 3x zoom so that you have the best possible quality image even at a distance. And you do notice that kind of switch over when you're watching it zoom. But listen, just stick 2 or 3 of these around your house and you'll know if someone so much as thinks about setting foot in your garden. I'm not kidding. If someone simply steps in your garden, they are not escaping the searing eyes of Sauron. The Eufy security system. It's almost creepy level of security. Everywhere you go, it feels like someone is watching you. But then that's what you want from a security system. It's literally the purpose of them. You can, of course, reduce its visibility by creating visual blocks and activity zones, so it's not like you have to have everything covered, but without a doubt, these offer the most coverage that any one security camera can possibly give you. And that's not just in the day, that's at night as well. It's got full IR night vision, so it can be relatively unobtrusive surveillance, but it's also got 3 inbuilt spotlights as well, which are powerful enough to light up everything. It's got 1 larger one on the tracking dome and 2 small ones on the fixed camera. Now, you might notice that there appears to be a 4th light on the bottom, 2nd one on the dome. Well, this is somewhat of a new novel feature, because now when you've got these cameras to trigger an alarm on detection, they'll not only let out an audible siren, the spotlight turns on and it flashes red and blue. It's as if the police have just pulled up or something. It's, I've got to say, very novel. Will it deter more people than a regular spotlight? I'm not sure. Maybe. Perhaps a better idea would have been including a high-powered strobe light to physically blind someone and disorient them. But this is certainly a choice. For me, though, I prefer my cameras to be less, well, in your face. So I've turned this feature off. I've also got the spotlights turned off too, so that means that I have to stick with the black and white IR night vision. Or does it? Well, this model also features Eufy's Starlight Colour Night Vision, which uses some camera wizardry to give me full colour night vision even without spotlight. Literally, this camera is the absolute boss of home security cameras, and I'm struggling to find something wrong with it. Perhaps the only way they could up the ante with this camera is if it had full 4K resolution for each lens, but that's just me being massively greedy. It doesn't need it, especially when it's got that 3x optical zoom. So overall, this camera paired up with the NVR is perhaps the most powerful security system that money can buy right now for consumers. And I know that for most of this episode, I've probably been gushing over this product, but the experience wasn't entirely hiccup-free. Most of the hiccups I've had I can attribute to me being a complete idiot when it comes to wired networking and having an overly complicated setup at home. But what this has meant is that I've discovered both what this device can do, this and the NVR, and what they can't do. And one thing I've found to be missing, at the moment anyway, is that there's a few issues when you want to try and use middlemen in your network to attach one of these cameras to the NVR. Now, we have an outbuilding that's currently connected by a single data feed underground to a child mesh node inside it. From there, I wanted to run a cable to a PoE switch and then run a camera off that PoE switch. Now, if I'm confusing you, here is an understandable diagram that I've had one of my master artists draw for you. The NVR is attached to the command center network switch, which is attached to the parent node. This is then attached to the child node, which is attached to a PoE switch, which I wanted to attach the camera to. But ultimately, this isn't possible because you can't point the NVR directly at a network attached camera if it's not directly attached to the NVR. You can do things like run a cable from a camera slot to a PoE switch and then to multiple cameras, but you can't take a video feed from anywhere else on the network unless it's direct to the NVR, which is, at the moment is a crying shame. So I did email Eufy and they said that they're working on this feature. So watch this space. I mean, it will save me having to dig up the trench where the network cable runs just to feed another cable through for cameras. This has really been the only thing that I've got to criticise about the experience, and I think that's largely down to the fact that they've taken an existing system from the Homebase 3, which had tons of updates based on years of consumer feedback, and just drop that straight onto a more powerful unit with more powerful features and more powerful cameras, and it's worked. They've created a masterpiece, but it is relatively expensive. The system I've been using, the S4 Max, has 4 of these insane cameras and the NVR, and it's priced at £1,099, which isn't cheap, but it is the best by a bloody long shot. And remember, that's 4 of the most insane security cameras that you can get your hands on, which technically gives you 12 lenses. So it is justifiable. And that is the most expensive package because there are a couple of cheaper ones. There's options that you can get with the E40 and E41 systems, which have the same NVR unit, just with slightly less extreme cameras. And you're also able to get the NVR on its own if you already had devices to pair with it. In addition to that, because I've been a bit of a lab rat and I've actually gotten these before launch, I believe possibly around launch they're offering some discounts here and there. It'll be worth at least checking out the link in the description below to see what price it is, because you never know, the discount might be a no-brainer. But as a quarter of my audience watches on TV, if you're one of those people, whip it out. Your phone, that is. Obviously, and scan this QR code, which will take you directly to the Eufy site where you can find out a bit more about the S4 and the NVR system. But to come to some kind of conclusion, this type of product is rare for me. I get 1 or 2 things a year that land on my desk that truly have my jaw on the floor. And this is one of them. Not because I've been waiting for this for an age, which I have, but because they completely smashed my expectations to pieces. This is the absolute peak of home security. It's so far ahead of competitors that I don't really know how I'm supposed to review anything else after this. I mean, look, I always try and be objective about products and not try to measure them against other brands to give everyone a fair chance against its own existence. But this and the NVR, these are different. This just takes a cricket bat to everything else that I've tried. They've basically stuck the middle finger up, not just to competitors, but to everything they've ever made as well. This is what security cameras and NVRs should be. It's shifted my baseline for what a good home security system is. Am I right? Are you as impressed as I am with this release, or am I getting far too excited here? Should I take it out to dinner first? Let me know your thoughts on the new Eufy NVR system and the new S4 mental based cameras in the comments below. And if you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you hit that thumbs up and that subscribe button, and I'll see you back for another episode of STU'S Reviews soon.